Oh boy, this is a very touchy subject.
We'll go into that part a little bit later, but
This is it's just oh man, the Team Liquid map contest. This has really caused a lot of surprises. That's all I can say for now.
well, let's start with just the good aspects.
Okay. Oh man, just thinking about it.
How did they tell you? Let's say that you were one of the finalists. What did you think?
They didn't notify you ahead of time. They just said, hey,
posted the thread.
we're holding this map contest. Send in 3 of your best maps, and we'll choose the finalists a month from now.
Mm-hmm.
So I sent it in. I sent in Stars of Ire, Antigua Prime, and Ohana. Now, I kind of went into a pickle because when they announced the finalists, I told them, or I asked Plexa, the administrator, and I said, hey, can I get feedback on my other 2 maps? And they said neither of these were even considered. So I had a 1 in 3 chance to even be considered, let alone 150 plus maps that were submitted.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I was a little lucky, I'm not sure. But the good part that I can see from TLMC, Team Liquid Map Contest, tournaments like this, and the fact that a guy like Plexa was able to get in touch with Blizzard and say, hey, I will pick out 7 finalists that show it has Blizzard aspects to this map, and I will send it to you.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that they acknowledge that Blizzard will say, hey, we're going to pick one and maybe use it for a future ladder pool.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that they do something like this and really step out to the map community is huge.
Yeah.
Absolutely huge. I can see more tournaments like this happening in the future, maybe another Team Liquid map contest. I can see, NASL possibly using more, and even more tournaments using custom maps because NASL used it first.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I think that, when you look back a year ago at the map community, everyone just made community maps, and that was it. You had Map of the Month, which was a nice step. And now you're seeing NASL and Team Liquid map contests show up. So I think it's definitely growing. I think sooner or later, GSL may very well have a community map edition. And, 5-10 years from now, you may see WCG for StarCraft 2, all community maps. You just don't know. So I think it's looking definitely bright for the map community. And we're all really excited about it.
Good. So let's move on to the other side of the coin with this topic. There was the results in general were, I guess, controversial to say the least. Inspired quite a massive thread with plenty of arguing, including your own couple of your own boys, your own teammates. What were your thoughts about the finalists in general?
The results?
Yeah, the finalists and the reactions.
Ooh. Oh boy. Where do I start with this? I mean,
As
this is just
as politically correct as it can be, I suppose.
Oh man, where do I go? How do I start? This is a very touchy subject because, as I said earlier, there were a lot of surprises, a lot of drama, I will say, and some of it was involved with TPW, unfortunately. So I won't go into that really for the sake of, just for the sake of it. But people were really surprised at Haven's Lagoon. That map,
let me go ahead and bring that up right now. Hold on.
That map absolutely skyrocketed. Everyone liked it. And yet when you look at it, it's like, how exactly do you like that map? I mean, all the bases are just so close. The chokes into every base, they're just so open and everything like that. And that is the map right there that caused the most drama in the community. I mean, people were flaming each other. People were quitting, insulting. Yeah. I mean, it was just unbelievable because people had so many high expectations. Like, well,
Not to mention,
I made
especially the just by the picture itself, it doesn't look like much.
hmm
I mean, even the updated picture, which I have up here now, I believe this is a more updated picture than the original one when they announced the results. This still doesn't look like that much. But all the feedback on it was that it was an amazing map, for the most part.
hmm
What were your views, what were your personal views on this map?
Well, I just remember looking at this and I was like, well, okay, I can see why it would be fun because everything is just so open and all your bases are just kind of all over the place and things like that. But then you get to the center, all the high ground bases and everything like that. And it's like, okay, everything feels so close. I mean, concept-wise, the concept is actually really, really nice on this map, but just overall general layout, and when you think of what I've talked about several times, circle syndrome in my map stream,
Mm-hmm.
you can definitely see a bit of problems once you start advancing to the high ground expansions. And there is where it gets really tough. And I don't know, I mean, I personally did not flip out when I saw the map. I was actually very surprised. And, I just kind of sat back and thought, hey, okay, what exactly is good about this map? Why was this map chosen out of 150 candidates? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you have to kind of analyze it, and a lot of people really, really flipped out. And it opened up a lot of eyes to the community. People thought that aesthetics were the top-notch thing
Sure.
that people wanted. People were like, hey, I want to make a brilliantly beautiful map, and I know it'll win. That's not true. So I think Haven's Lagoon is a perfect example that, hey, aesthetics are not everything.
Mm-hmm.
Simplicity is.
Have you since this come out actually looked at the map in more depth or even played on it?
I've actually played on it a couple times.
Mm-hmm. And what are your thoughts about playing on it?
It was okay. I mean, inside, it just made me, in the game, it just made me cringe. It was, I mean, just looking at the aesthetics, and it was just like, oh man, like I can't believe I'm looking at this. Like the water is just messed up. Like it just looks very jagged, and I mean, the texture work really needs refinement and everything like that. But overall, I mean, it wasn't that bad. It's very good for 2-3 base play, but after that, it gets horrendous.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, base-to-base distance and traveling just becomes so obscure and just so bad and so close.
And see, that's actually what I find. I haven't actually played on the map yet. I always forget about it when I'm looking up custom games and looking for maps to play. I have not had it in front of me to think about to play on it. But from what I hear, from what I see, I actually think that's interesting. Because to me, as a spectator and fan of the game, the maps are getting interesting on one hand, but also somewhat predictable on another hand. It seems like when you go to tournaments, even their new maps, like that new gigantic map that the GSL is using, I can't remember its name right now. It's huge, that huge, massive map, Calm Before the Storm. So,
Yeah.
I mean, you look at it and it looks nice, it's cool, but it looks like it's not that much different in overall play style from something like a Terminus, and it seems like we're getting kind of boxed into this form that may not necessarily be the way it's supposed to be. I mean, yeah, it's cool, and that's what players like, and that's fine, but for me, from a spectator perspective, it almost becomes more predictable, like I said, or I've noted before, I've talked a bit before about how I like some of the maps that everyone else hates, because they're so much different that it forces the top tier players, when they play on those maps, or when they used to. No one touches Desert Oasis anymore, right? But when top players had to, they had to do things that were completely outside the box. And from a fan perspective, that was really interesting to see. And that's why that was the first thing that I noticed about this Haven's Lagoon. Was it was like, okay, this seems kind of standard. It seems it reminds you in some ways of Scrap Station turned sideways, And then I kind of thought about it like, oh, you know what I like about it though is that it's not Tal'Darim Altar or one of these newer Melee maps that's just like, here's your free 3 bases. Now go out and fight,
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know.
What's actually really interesting about Haven's Lagoon, the map maker has been using the map editor for 3 weeks, and that's his first map ever.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how simple it looks. This is the guy's first map ever, and he's only been using the editor for around 3 or 4 weeks. And yet, some of us who've been map making from early StarCraft, Brood War, all the way through StarCraft 2 so far, and then we don't make it, you can understand the frustration.
Which the frustration did come out quite a bit. And I understand the frustration from there's a lot of people who didn't understand the frustration or thought that it was quite a bit overboard.
Right. I mean, there's been a lot of discussion after the contest. I mean, just the eyes of map makers just opened up dramatically, and people were making blogs and other threads about it. Hey, you know what? I think we just need to settle down and look at the facts here. Simplicity is what people want. We focus too much on aesthetics and trying to make things unique or innovative or different. We're trying to add like all these different cool features, but people just want a simple map. Like Xel'Naga Caverns, for example. It's simple. The only real feature you have
is the backdoor hallway.
Yeah, or the rocks to the third.
Yeah.
But it's like otherwise you'll go to another map and it's like, Damage Inc. for example, wonderful, beautiful map. And I think it's actually really cool that he added minerals to block the ramp. That is new. That is a cool feature. But you know what? People may not want that. That's the problem that us map makers have to face, and that's a horrible thing that we have to face. So it's okay to work on aesthetics as long as the map is simple. You know what I mean? And I think too much us map makers try and become too complex with layout and design and base symmetry and things like that.